In today's video, we're going to talk about 5 running backs that should help you win your fantasy leagues in 2025. You should be targeting them everywhere. Okay, so first name here. Look, we play to win it all in fantasy football. We don't care about 6th place. So De'Von Achane is the ultimate ceiling play. Not enough people are talking about this, by the way, but Achane was one Tua injury away from having a legitimate shot at finishing as the RB1 overall in fantasy football last year. I mean, if we look at last year's top scorers on a points per game basis, Saquon at number 1 with 22.2, Jahmyr Gibbs right behind him, Bijan, Henry. But you can see in splits with Tua on the left side of this graphic here, Achane was averaging more points per game in those 11 games with Tua on the field than Saquon Barkley was this year. He was averaging 22.55 points per game. That would have been number 1. Now, of course, there's no way to guarantee that Achane could have continued on that trajectory or held up that standard for those other 6 games if Tua played, but clearly he displayed his RB1 overall upside last year. I mean, he was the feature of this entire offense, again, when Tua was healthy. If you look at target leaders amongst running backs in 2024 per game, Alvin Kamara at number 1 at 6.4, De'Von Achane right behind him at 5.1. But again, with a healthy Tua Tagovailoa, the offense running the way that Mike McDaniel wanted it to run, De'Von Achane was averaging more targets per game than Kamara in those games. Again, split on the left, 6.6 targets per game with a healthy Tua Tagovailoa. We're talking about a 17-game pace with Tua for 112 targets. That's what Achane was on track to do with a healthy Tua, which would have been more targets last year than wide receivers like T. Higgins, DK Metcalf, Khalil Shakir, and Jordan Addison. I mean, his usage per game with Tua was through the roof, 19.6 touches per game with him. And he has shown in back-to-back years his fantasy value. He has proven it in back-to-back seasons. As a rookie, 17.3 points per game. People questioned him. Then 17.6 points per game last year, the RB6 on a point per game basis. And his offense wasn't functioning for 6 games of the season. He had a sleeper ADP of round 2 in 2024, and his ADP in 2025 is still round 2. You'll see that average there is 2025. The sleeper ADP from last year you can see on the screen there. He has proven himself, yet you can still basically get him at the same price, and it's because people are timid about Tua Tagovailoa. Don't play timid, play to win the game. All right, second running back here is, in my opinion, one of the cheapest RB1s in fantasy football as far as RB1 on their NFL team, Isaiah Pacheco. He is currently going around 114th overall when you average out all the best ball tournaments. Remember, guys, he had an ADP of 19th overall on ESPN last year, right? We're seeing that in the mid-second round. That was his ADP last year on ESPN. Right now, you'll see that average on your screen for drafts right now. He's almost 8 rounds cheaper than he was last year. At that price, quite frankly, we shouldn't even have to continue this discussion. We should all be all in on Isaiah Pacheco with that ADP. There is no risk, but I still strongly believe he retains massive upside. I know it's a very small sample size before he got injured last year, but he was looking great before that injury in week 2, averaging 16 points per game, top 10 in carries and targets amongst the running back position. And he was being utilized as a top back in the NFL. He had a higher utilization rate in that span than the Jonathan Taylors, the Joe Mixons, the Josh Jacobs, and he's already shown that he can be a reliable scorer for you on your fantasy roster at 15.3 points per game in 2023. He's going to perform much better a year removed from that fibula injury. Obviously, the fibula injury is the reason that he's falling down boards this year, right? But we already saw Tony Pollard. He was the most recent running back who had the same injury that Isaiah Pacheco just had. He was injured in 2022, but you'll see in 2023, he still had 300 plus touches in Dallas, and same with the season in Tennessee. So he was still able to be a high usage running back. So does Isaiah Pacheco have top 12 upside? No, but that's where you were drafting him last year in the second round. He has top 20 upside, and you get to draft him, 8 rounds cheaper, like we said. So you can draft a superstar running back in round 1 and then fill out the rest of your roster, and Pacheco can serve as your RB2, in my humble opinion. All right, next player, let's go to a rookie here. How about the Kool-Aid Man himself, as I've tagged him, Quinshon Judkins, because this man runs through contact like the Kool-Aid Man runs through walls. Oh yeah, sorry. Look, historically, running backs with Judkins draft capital have massive upside, they become fantasy superstars. We're talking about a 71% hit rate for round 2 running backs in the NFL draft. But more specifically, let's look at every running back drafted with a top 10 pick in round 2 of the NFL draft since 2017, just like Quinshon Judkins. Great names here like Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb, DeAndre Swift, Jonathan Taylor, Javonte Williams, Breece Hall, Ken Walker. The only name you don't like there really is Ronald Jones. And if you look at those guys' fantasy finishes as rookies, outside of Dalvin Cook, who went down early with that injury, and Ronald Jones, who was a bust, Nick Chubb, Swift, Taylor, Javonte, Walker, and then Breece Hall on a points per game basis all finished as top 18 running backs. So the way I see it, I know it's a bad offense in Cleveland, but RB20 is quite conservative with the upside he retains, and there's not a single running back in Cleveland that can hold him back from being the guy in this backfield from day one. I mean, Jerome Ford is there. I know they drafted Samson, Pierre Strong. Jerome Ford is a fine depth piece, but he will not lead this team. Not after you spent a top 40 pick on Judkins. Let's look at those other running backs, by the way, that we mentioned earlier, and their rookie seasons and what opportunities they got. So Nick Chubb at 13.8. If you look all the way down this list, on average, we're talking about 15.6 touches per game for this rookie running back group. But keep in mind, most of these running backs had guys ahead of them that they had to compete with for touches as a rookie. For example, Nick Chubb, Carlos Hyde was there, and he was the dominant back for the first 6 weeks before they traded him out of Cleveland. For DeAndre Swift, Adrian Peterson and Kerryon Johnson were in town. For Jonathan Taylor, this is probably the most close, as far as comparison between Judkins' rookie season and Jonathan Taylor's from a usage perspective. He only had to deal with Nyheim Hines. Javonte Williams had to deal with Melvin Gordon. Breece Hall had to deal with Michael Carter, who was a breakout rookie from the year before. And Kenneth Walker had to deal with Rashad Penny before he went down with that injury. Penny was dominating that backfield. In my opinion, Jonathan Taylor's Colts rookie season is the closest indication for, as far as like opportunities for Quinshon Judkins. And remember, Jonathan Taylor averaged around 18 touches per game. Of course, the offense in Cleveland is going to have to improve, but I think they've already shown by adding Judkins that they want to do that. I mean, yes, ideally you're in a good offense, but you can still be a good fantasy running back in a subpar offense. I mean, just last year, Chuba Hubbard finished as the RB14 over 16 points per game, even though the Panthers were 29th in yards per game and 23rd in offensive points per game. Don't sleep on the young rookie. He's going to be one of the cheaper ones you can add. Draft with me every night this offseason on the FastDraft app, where there are over $250,000 in prizes waiting to be won. Getting started is easy. Download the FastDraft app, use the promo code LAND at signup to get your deposit match up to $50. That is 10 free drafts on us. And when you finish your first real money contest, I'll send you my 2025 rookie report and season rankings completely free. Check out the link in the pinned comment to start drafting today. All right, a bit of deja vu for this next take. Last year, Alvin Kamara was an official my guy for ya boy. Okay, you can see that here. And I think I'm going to have to do it again this year. I think I'm going to have to be the Alvin Kamara guy this year. And my rationale last year to have him as a my guy was simple. He had an ADP of RB16 in drafts, and he was going in round 5. It made no sense to me because he had never had a career that poor in fantasy football. If you look this year, he has an ADP of RB20 and he's going in round 6. He's going a round later than he did last year. That sleeper ADP you see on your left side is 2024. The average is 2025 on your right. He is RB20 ADP in 2025, which would easily be Alvin's lowest points per game finish ever in a 7-year career. 8-year career is it now? In fact, he has finished top 8 in points per game 7 out of his 8 seasons. He was the RB3 in 2023 in points per game, the RB5 in points per game last year. I mean, last year, Alvin Kamara, guys, he averaged more points per game than Devon Achane, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, James Cook, Breece Hall, Bucky Irving. But he's being drafted significantly lower than all of those names. I mean, is it the age? Is that what you're concerned about? Is it the age? People have no problem drafting Derrick Henry at 13th overall this year. You'll see that ADP on the right-hand side, even though he's 2 years older than Alvin Kamara. I know different players, right? People have no problem drafting CMC, who was just injured last year and is pretty much the same age as Alvin Kamara. I know those guys are on better offenses, but the discount is so baked in. Why will we not all be all in on Alvin Kamara? And there just isn't a name in this backfield that's a true threat. Like Kendre Miller, Devin Neal, they just drafted. I like him. But look, I guess I'm going to be Captain Kamara again in 2025. Let me know if you're going to join me in the comments below. All right. Everyone, and I mean everyone, keeps asking the question, will Travis Etienne or Bashul Tutin lead the Jags in 2025? That is the question you're seeing everywhere in fantasy football circles. no one is even considering that it could be Tank Bigsby. And I'm here to advocate that Tank Bigsby is probably the best pick in the Jacksonville running back room this year. It's a brand new coaching staff, all right? So out with Doug Peterson, in with Liam Cohen, out with Press Taylor, in with Grant Udinsky, out with Jerry Mack as the running back coach, in with Chad Morton. I'm telling you that because it means there are no loyalties to anyone. It doesn't matter that Travis Etienne was a first-round pick. It truly does not matter anymore. He's not the same player since that Liz Frank injury anyway. He's not really ever been efficient. But the question is, with the staff that is currently there, Liam Cohen being the head coach, what did Liam Cohen reward for his running backs in Tampa Bay? Well, he rewarded three things. He rewarded efficiency, play extending, and explosiveness. Those are the three things he really rewarded. We saw that all last year in Tampa Bay, guys. Remember, last year, Rachaad White versus Bucky Irving. Obviously, Bucky Irving had a better PFF grade, but far more efficient, over a full yards per carry, higher yards per attempt, better in yards after contact per attempt, missed tackles forced. He's extending plays there. His breakaway percentage is far higher, explosive plays, the elusiveness, and ultimately, Bucky Irving got 224 rushing attempts compared to 145 for Rachaad White. And the more and more we went into that season last year, the more Bucky Irving was rewarded. If you look week 12 onwards, you'll see Bucky Irving was dominating snap share, rushing attempt share. He had 19.6 touches per game compared to Rachaad White's 10.5. So the question is, based off what we've seen in the past with Liam Cohen, who in this Jacksonville backfield has shown that they can offer efficiency, play extending, and explosiveness? Well, in my opinion, that's clearly Tank Bigsby based off what we saw last year. And don't give me this BS, well, Travis Etienne was injured. So was Tank Bigsby. They were both dealing with nagging injuries. Every NFL player, they constantly say this, NFL players, we're all dealing with injuries every single week. Nobody is healthy, right? So if you look last year, Tank Bigsby, better PFF grade, almost a full yards per attempt, more efficient, way better yards after contact per attempt and missed tackles forced. He is a play extender. He's more efficient. He has a higher breakaway percentage, better elusive rating by moons and moons and moons. He is more efficient, he extends plays, and he was more explosive. And you can see even last year with last year's coaching staff, they trusted Tank Bigsby more. They gave him more rushing attempts. I feel like Tank has a clear edge over Etienne, and no one's really talking about it. I mean, we just saw Liam replace a high usage running back with low efficiency last year. Rachaad White coming off a 2023 season with 342 touches. If you look at his targets, he averaged about 16 points per game. And then Liam Cohen said, we're good. Bucky's our guy. He's giving me what I want. Is that not exactly what we saw from Etienne in 2023? The same year, by the way, in 2023. Put these guys up side by side if you can, right? Both had 325 plus touches. Both had great fantasy seasons on a points per game basis, but both were extremely inefficient. Sure, you can blame it on the offensive line. Sure, you can blame it on injuries and all these different things. But at the end of the day, who is producing in this backfield? Who's explosive? That was Tank Bigsby. No one's giving him a chance at the RB1 spot. And I think he's going to be the cheapest. He's going to be the one guy in this backfield I'd probably target. But look, if you love drafting running backs as much as I do in fantasy football, in FastDraft's Flex 4 tourney, you can draft the running back with literally every single pick. The way it works is you draft 6 players, there's no positional limitations, and the top 4 get entered into your lineup each and every week. There's a $50,000 prize pool. I mean, look at this monster that I built on my most recent Flex 4 tourney draft. I had 5 running backs out of my 6 picks. We got James Conner in the 6th round. The earlier you draft on FastDraft in this Flex 4 tournament, the better the ADP is to exploit. So if you want to draft with me, I'm drafting most nights. Download the FastDraft app, use the promo code LAND. We will match your deposit up to $50. That is 10 free Flex 4 tourney entries on us when you use our promo code. And when you finish, I'll send you my 2025 cheat sheet completely free. But I appreciate y'all watching the video. Do me a favor, hit that like button to show some love. Subscribe if you like the content. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Let me know what you think in the comments below. All love. If you're thinking about supporting us in this economy, that's big love, and you deserve love in return. So for every yearly Mother Flocker member who uses the promo code LAND, we're giving out a free team playbook, our 2025 rookie report, access to all premium tools, free site vouchers, and of course, a huge thank you from the LAND crew. You're far too kind. That's love.